with ABC 15 sports director Craig Fouhy. Fouhy joins the guys each Monday to break down the top stories of the weekend. And as a reminder, Manouch writes the question.
You guys are hot.
Now here's ABC 15's Craig Fouhy.
All right, everybody, welcome back in. Rockin' Manouch, Jimmy B, Fox Sports 910. And Jax is here. Connor back in the iHeart Studios, making sure we do everything right, which is an extremely difficult job. Phooey joins us right now. I got a question before we get into Factor Phooey. Did you make it over to the Suns today for the media day by chance?
No, I did not. We sent Colin Harmon out there. I was working some other things, including ASU, and then we've got some post-game show tonight after Sunday Night Football. So Colin graciously accepted to step up and take the reins on that one.
I got to tell you, Coach, a minute and a half's not enough. You need at least 5 minutes of sports when you got the Yotes, you got the Suns, you got all three major college football seasons going on, you got the Diamondbacks going on. I mean, October is a half the month. How are you going to squeeze all that in to your 5 minutes of sports broadcasting?
It's not easy, but I live in the world of local news, so that's what you expect, right? I miss the radio days, the sports talk radio, where you have like hours and hours to talk about it.
That's why I'm doing it now and not doing the TV thing anymore. All right, let's do it. Yeah, brother.
And he's got a better face for radio too.
I knew he was going to throw that at me. You know that.
Yep. Oh yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So here we go. A little Factor Phooey with ABC 15 sports director Craig Fouhy. And I'll begin with question number one. The Cardinals' ability to get back into yesterday's game, even though it was a 35-16 loss with the 49ers, should give fans hope of beating the Bengals at home on Sunday. Fact or Phooey?
I agree with the statement in part that we should have hope beating the Bengals because the Bengals aren't very good. But in terms of the comeback yesterday afternoon, in terms of scoring 6 points in the second half, no, I don't think that's it. I just think it's the way the Cardinals have played for the most part. This season they've shown that they're resilient. They continue to fight despite the odds. And so I think when you look at the Bengals, they're 1-3, and I think they're dead last in a couple of offensive categories in the NFL right now after 4 games. So I think you should have some hope playing at home against the Bengals.
All right, Coach, question number 2. Cardinals quarterback Josh Dobbs is proving to be a legitimate NFL QB and not just a serviceable backup QB. Fact or Phooey?
Nah, Phooey on that. I don't see him yet as a starter in the NFL. I think he's a backup. I think that's what his history would tell you. He's come into a situation where the expectations are pretty low here in Arizona, and a lot of the national media was giving them 4.5 wins for the season. I think USA Today gave them 2. So Dobbs came in as an underdog, kind of dealing with an offense that didn't have a lot of expectations other than run the ball. But I think he's done a nice job. I just don't see him as now. Nobody's going to be clamoring for Josh Dobbs as a starter across the league, in my opinion.
Coach, as a former player and coach yourself, do you think Drew Petzing as offensive coordinator is doing a good job as far as calling plays? For me, it's an improvement what I've seen the last several years as far as continuity and chemistry, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't – everybody wants to pile on Cliff, right, for terrible play calling. If you remember just a couple of years ago, they started the season 7-0 and 10-1, and he was a pretty good play caller then. And then everything barely fell apart when all the injuries hit. But I don't want to pile on Cliff at all in this answer. But I think Petzing's come in as a first-year offensive coordinator and done a nice job. And again, there's not a lot of expectations there for that offense. So I think teams come into the Cardinals games and say, we'll probably back the bus into the stadium, walk off, and beat the Cardinals. So Petzing's done a nice job calling plays, trying to get balance. There's times when it looks a lot like the Cliff Kingsbury offense we saw for the last 3 or 4 years, but there's other times when it's like, okay, he's taking some shots, he's doing some play action stuff. So I think he's been fine. I have no complaints about Drew Petzing or Nick Rallis so far.
All right, we're doing Factor Phooey with ABC 15's Craig Fouhy. The emergence of the Cardinals rookie wide receiver Michael Wilson will create more explosiveness in the Cardinals offense, thus seeing bigger plays from Hollywood Brown and Rondell Moore as well. Is that fact or Phooey?
Wow, that is a lot. That's a huge question.
Explosiveness, Coach.
Yeah.
Explosiveness.
Yeah, explosiveness. Listen, Michael Wilson has been a nice addition. Here's a guy that came out of Stanford and was injury plagued for his entire career in college, right?
Yep.
And went down to the Senior Bowl and impressed some coaches and GMs. He's come in here and done a nice job. 7 targets yesterday, 7 catches, 76 yards, 2 touchdowns. His first 2 career touchdowns in the NFL. And Hollywood Brown, 10 targets, 7 catches, 96 yards. Rondell Moore, 2 targets, 0 catches, 0 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0-0. But I think it does help when you have a guy who's 6'2" and has some size on him. He's the biggest receiver they have right now. And I think it gives him an opportunity when he has some pretty sure hands right now. So I've been impressed with Michael Wilson so far. I was impressed with him in training camp. He just continues to show up and play at a high level. So I think that does help when you have some weapons. Spread the field so he can catch the ball makes a big difference for everybody else.
All right, Coach, question number 4. The DBacks losing 5 out of 7 and the last 4 in a row will make it extremely difficult this team to beat the Brewers in the best of 3 wild card Milwaukee, especially with Brandon Font taking the bump tomorrow night. Fact?
Yeah, that was a tough one because they didn't get to clinch, and so earlier. So Zach Gallen had to pitch Friday or Saturday, I guess. And I mean, it's a tough one when you're down. Listen, I mentioned these things. The Brewers have the best pitching staff in all of baseball, 3.71 team ERA. The D-backs are 20th on the pitching staff. I will say this, the bullpen's done better as of late for the D-backs, right, in later August. The Brewers have a run differential of plus 81. The D-backs are minus 15 run differential. Obviously, the Brewers are 20 games above 500. The D-backs are 6. So the D-backs have lost 4 coming into this. They're 4-6 in their last 10 games. And here's the clincher for me, guys. In the last 5 games, they've only scored 6 runs. So if the D-backs don't pick up the bats and start hitting at the plate, it's going to be a tough outing for them in Milwaukee.
I'm with you on that 100%. Yep, they've got to make contact with the baseball. The trend or metric of ASU, remember, Manute writes these questions.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, as ASU head coach Ken, his own 32-yard line, starting to backfire and cost the Devils a chance to win games. Fact or Phooey?
Well, listen, yes, fact. I mean, it is a tough one when you start going. Everybody's going for it on 4th down now, right? It's just sort of a thing. The metrics say we should go for it on 4th down. Those are tough calls. Those things can backfire or they can win for you. They were 2 of 5 on 4th down conversions on Saturday up at Cal.
Yes.
Cal was 1 for 2. And if you remember, they got down and scored, but they had 12 guys on the field too. And Kenny took the blame for that. It was on him. But that was a tough call because they went to the Wildcat and put Trenton Bourguet out far wide left on the sidelines, just told him get out of the way, and then they end up with an extra man on the field. So that was costly. But yeah, these things are tough. And Kenny talked about it. He addressed it Saturday night after the game up in Berkeley, and he just said, look, we had one of them that succeeded. We had one that cost us, right? And those things hurt when you give up 7 points in the other way. So you got maybe a 14-point swing, but for sure a 7-point swing. So, yeah, it's tough sometimes, but it looks like everybody's doing it now. So it's something about metrics all the time. Right? Yeah, metrics say you got a good chance of getting them.
Yeah, Coach, it's just I see some of the a little more old school. I mean, I don't. Especially,
I know you are.
Especially in your own territory.
Old.
Yeah, well, I'm about winning or putting your team in a winning situation. But hey, we want to give you our State 40 Roofing. It's your call question of the day. Just get your thoughts. Okay. By the way, you at Rock and Manooch on Twitter and vote yourself. So, Craig Fouhy, what growth are you seeing in the Cardinals this year? Is it 1, resilience, 2, offense much improved, 3, defense / more physical, or 4, better coaching? Out of those 4, better coaching. Libhouse right now is better coaching, 83% to resilience is 16.7%. Just want to get your thoughts after watching these last 4 games.
Yeah, I'm going with resilience. I think it's too early to talk about better coaching. I think that's a tough one. And again, everybody wants to pile on the previous staff and say, oh, they're terrible. These guys are all new. There's a bunch of coaches on this staff that are brand new to their position.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're all working.
2 minutes?
I see resilience out of these guys. They don't roll over and play dead. And despite the roster looking like it's void of a lot of talent, they continue to play. And sometimes that's what you need to be an underdog all the time. There'll be underdogs in every game this year. But I think you need to just have that feeling, that chip on your shoulder, right? And that's what I see. So I'm going to say resilience to this. I'm going to go against the better coaching.
All right, Coach, what are you working on? You referenced something about ASU, that you're busy working on some things for that with the upcoming Colorado game. That'll be fun.
Yeah, Coach, Colorado.
Go down in town. The Buffs are coming into town. We got Kenny Dillingham. Listen, we got a post-game show tonight after the Monday night game, Seahawks and Giants, and Mark May will be in. We'll talk about the Cardinals again. And, boy, I'll tell you what, the one thing we didn't talk about with you guys, Rhett, is Christian McCaffrey and Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Those two guys are lighting it up, man. Talk about two offensive MVP candidates. Unbelievable for both of them.
Coach, and I taught Brock well for many, many years, but hell, I couldn't hit 20 out of 21 versus air. Are you kidding me? I mean,
1 minute.
What he's doing, and I've been telling people for a couple of years, and all the naysayers per se. By the way, Coach, all the naysayers are going, well, I guess it's not bad.
He's okay.
I guess he can't contribute one way or the other. But, I mean, talk about just him checking the boxes and doing what he's doing. And you've seen him play several times now in high school days and college to see him, see the progress this young man's had.
Yeah, no, he's been phenomenal. 20 of 21 yesterday. I mean, just unbelievable. He had one touchdown pass and one incomplete.
Yeah, one incompletion. Yep.
And no interceptions. I mean, he's 9-0 right now in regular season starts, I think. I mean, he's just been phenomenal. And he's, the local kid. And Manuch, you know him better than anybody, having been around him, outside of his folks. But he's been phenomenal. And those are two guys, between what Christian McCaffrey's done for the 49ers, what Brock Purdy does for that offense, is just phenomenal. And of course, he's surrounded by great players, and that never hurts either.
Oh, you got that right. Coach, we'll be watching tonight. Have a good good evening, man. See you, bud.
See ya.
Okay, there you go. Factor Fouhy. Craig Fouhy, ABC 15 sports director. So how did the sports books here at Casino Arizona do this past weekend? Casey Walsh is going to join us, and he's going to fill us in. It's Rockin' Manuch with Jimmy B, Fox Sports 910.
Check this. Clear.